So Jake Paul versus Mike Perry just took place, and Jake Paul destroyed Mike Perry easily and in the 6th round by TKO. Mike Perry gets dropped badly. He got dropped many times in the fight. First round he got dropped, second round he got dropped, and then finally in the 6th round he got dropped again. Made the count, got back up to his feet, however, was wobbling all over the place once he did get back up, so the referee called off the fight. MMA fighters and anyone who has ever done MMA before, you know what? Anyone who didn't start as a boxer, stop trying to fight against boxers. Throwing punches is not boxing. Boxing is boxing. They've been developing this over hundreds of years. Stop trying. We need to put a ban on MMA fighters, former MMA fighters, because Mike Perry, let's not forget, was a BKFC, bare knuckle boxer. Very different than regular boxing in the rules that they're allowed to use, in the way that they even throw the punches, because they have to worry about breaking their hands all the time. I know boxers do as well, but in bare knuckle, they really have to focus on that above all else, or they're going to break a knuckle the first punch they hit a forehead with. However, we've got to stop these guys going over to boxing, because at this point, it's just a humiliation ritual every single time. And I know certain people have done okay. Nate Diaz made it the distance and lost. Anderson Silva made it the distance and lost. They didn't all get KO'd like Mike Perry did. As an MMA fan, enough is enough. Boxing is boxing. Punching is not boxing. We have to stop. You're giving these boxers like a superiority complex, like these MMA guys can't even strike or can't even throw punches right. No. Boxing is designed for boxers, okay? The way they move their feet, their footwork in general, the way they throw punches, the pace in which they fight at, the amount of feints they use. It is all taught within boxing. You must become absolutely vulnerable to any other martial art if you want to be a boxer. By taking on boxing, I know people are going to call this cope. Jake Paul had a really good performance. He won. It looked bad in certain moments, but he got the job done against Mike Perry. And I do think that beating Mike Perry in a boxing match is just bottom line impressive. It is. Even if I don't rate Jake Paul as an elite boxer, or don't think that Jake Paul's ever going to be a highly ranked boxer or ever get anywhere near anyone with a legit record in boxing, in a boxing ring, I still have to admit, if there was a random guy came up to me in the street, said, you know, I just boxed Mike Perry and I beat him, I'd say, bullshit, you did. No way you did. If he then proved it to me that he had boxed Mike Perry and beat him, regardless of the size of the guy, I would find that impressive. And I'd be like, holy shit, you're a badass, dude. That is impressive to me. I understand how boxing fans would see it from a different perspective, because they watch the elite level boxing every chance they get, and now they're sort of coming down to watch Jake Paul, whereas I'm just sort of going across to watch Jake Paul. So it's a little bit of a different situation. However, we've got to stop this humiliation fetish. No more. You must be absolutely vulnerable and easily destroyable to every other martial art in existence if you want to succeed in boxing. They have made a sport not designed for combat. It's designed for boxing. It's designed to have these two big pillows on your hands and touch each other in the face with them and body, and nothing else. There's intricacies to it. There's a sweet science to it. I completely understand. However, they have not developed a combat sport. They've developed boxing. Okay, they have not thought about, but what if a guy tries this on us? No, it's just boxing. Very limited, 1% of combat, not 1%, but you know what I mean, 10% of combat is boxing. They are only good at that. They'd get destroyed by everyone else. We know this. Stop going over there and boxing them though, because it's just embarrassing. And that's what it was for Mike Perry. It was just the commentary trashing him as he walks in like a zombie with his hands by his waist early, gets dropped in the first round, dropped in the second round, and then put away in the 6th. And The way Mike Perry got dropped, this needs to be mentioned as well. The first 2 times he got dropped, and even in the third time as well, but the first 2 times he got dropped were off-balance knockdowns. It wasn't even that he was getting switched off and then waking up on the canvas and getting back up to his feet. Wasn't like that whatsoever. He got hit by Jake and got impact knockdowned by Jake Paul. Not much of a concussion, which is why he switched right back on afterwards. And even after the second knockdown, he was chasing down Jake Paul and actually landing some really good shots on him. I want to talk about that in a second as well. But Jake Paul was literally off balance, knocking him down. First punch, all impact. Perry goes to the canvas, rises immediately back up to his feet. Second punch, similar situation. Impact knockdown, Perry gets right back up to his feet. 10-8 rounds for Jake Paul in the first 2. But the reason why he's getting impact knockdown, and it's not that he needs to be switched off for a second or have his head completely spun and then lose where he is and wake up on the canvas and come back to on the canvas. No. He's not got a stance for boxing. He's walking forward. He's off balance. He's leaning the wrong way when he's throwing punches. And he's not in a stance that can support impact from a real boxer in Jake Paul who's bigger than him, landing really crispy shots. Now, Jake Paul is a lot bigger than Mike Perry. Fair point. He's not that much bigger, though. That needs to be removed as an excuse. I know he's bigger, and I just went on a rant about, he never fights guys his size or bigger, which he doesn't. But he's 5'11". Everyone's acting like Jake Paul is 6'5" out there. Monster. Oh my God, Jake Paul's huge. He's about 5'11". He's barely taller than KSI, who's 5'10". This isn't this big hulking monster out there. He's a big dude. And that actually might be hindering his performance as a boxer because he hasn't actually got a boxer's physique. He's got a strongman physique. He's not built really for boxing. He's got a strongman physique. He's made to bulk, but not pure muscle. Just bulk and add layers of fat, but make it look good because your frame holds it very well. Jake Paul's not really got the genetics for boxing. Look at his calves. Massive. His head, massive. He's got very broad. He's not got long limbs that are really quick twitch and fast. And oh my God, how we barely saw that left hook come in. There's none of that in a Jake Paul fight. But he's big. He's powerful. I'm not using it as an excuse for Mike Perry. He's not a boxer. Stop doing this. Please stop doing this. It's annoying me now because Pereira's already embarrassed all of MMA, and now all of MMA is being embarrassed by boxing because these motherfuckers keep taking these paydays. And I'm immediately seeing wouldn't do that to Darren Till. Yes, he would. Yes, he would. He wouldn't do it to Pereira though, because Pereira has boxed before, not professionally, I don't think, although he might have done. But Alex Pereira, if you don't know, Zhilei Zhang, Big Bang Zhang, this guy looks like Master Uguay. Just knocked out Deontay Wilder, by the way. That guy has Alex Pereira in his training camps for his upcoming boxing matches. They work together a lot. And you don't have someone like Pereira in your training camp while you're getting ready for a Wilder or getting ready for a Joseph Parker or getting ready for a... Who's another guy that Zhilei Zhang has beat? There's a few... Oh, Joe Joyce. You don't have him in your corner unless he's effective work. Pereira's a big dude. He'd tower over Jake. Jake could get fraud checked on his height immediately. He's not that big. And I think Alex Pereira would easily destroy him. The reason Jake Paul called out Alex Pereira is because he's a very relevant name by now. And because he's in a 7-fight locked-in contract with the UFC, so there's no chance of him fighting Jake Paul ever. So that's a really convenient call out of another MMA fighter. But we just got to stop. I don't even want to risk Pereira going over there because it is just embarrassing. It's not a combat sport. It's boxing. It is a combat sport. I completely understand it is because otherwise I have to say jiu-jitsu isn't a combat sport because why would you be putting yourself on bottom position? That's not a combat. So it is a combat sport, but it's a combat sport that has where survival of a human and success of a human in a regular fight is not considered at all. The way they stand, their stance in general, the way their guard is, You don't do that if you want to beat another man in a fight. You do all of these things and you change your stance the way Jake Paul does and you have your hands the way boxers do. You do all of these things to win a boxing match against someone, not to beat them in a fight. Otherwise, you're doing everything wrong. Just needs to be said. Jake Paul, great win. Feel bad for Mike Perry because Conor McGregor just fired him from BKFC, but he'll stand by Dylan Dennis. Mike Perry at least threw fucking punches against Jake Paul. Dylan Dennis did fuck all against Logan Paul for 8 rounds. So you should fucking fire him off of your friendship roster as well, because he's more of an embarrassment. Fact. But yeah, Jake Paul wins again. And as I said, I don't rate him as an elite level boxer. I don't think he's ever going to be a world champion or anything like that. Like, nowhere near. I don't think he even beats... I mean, who's like a name like that would be respectable? I'm trying to think of a name. If I look at the champions right now in boxing. It's going to take ages to get there because boxing rankings are done very stupidly. But still, I don't think he'd ever be a champion in his weight class. I don't think he'd ever beat elite level competition. He would probably fight at light heavyweight or cruiserweight if he were to fight someone. So do I see him beating Chris Billam-Smith? No. Gevor Michaelian? No. Maris Breedis? Never in a million years. I don't see him beating Yamil Peralta or Ryan Riziki. And to be honest with you, his build would not survive in that division anyway. Not whatsoever. Like, Jake Paul's build is only acceptable because he's fighting smaller opponents. He would have to lean up for a division if he really wanted to compete in boxing and maybe be like a light heavyweight. I mean, we got guys 6'3" that are fighting in very low weight classes in boxing. 6'2" fighting in very low weight classes. There's a guy who just beat Tim Tszyu, who's giant for his weight class. Can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but usually you have to be quite lean for the division. So Jake Paul's getting away with a lot by fighting shorter, stockier opponents here. But one thing I do want to mention now, he's never going to be elite level boxer. If a random guy came up to me on the street, I know it's Jake Paul, so you have to frame it in a certain way. I get it. But if a random guy came up to me on the street and I'm like, what do you want right now? You know, I just beat Mike Perry in a boxing match. I'd be like, no, you fucking didn't, dude. Stop lying. And if he then showed me that he did, I'd be like, oh, fair play. You're a fucking badass, dude. That's insane. Mike Perry's a savage. And Mike Perry is a savage. He was a member of We Eat Those University all the way until the 6th round, eventually getting wobbled badly on the feet and then sat down afterwards. So he actually was properly concussed for that one. I do want to mention this, though. A lot of people are going to say rigged. A lot of people are going to say, oh my God, Jake Paul's fights are rigged. Oh my God, another rigged fight. Perry just walked in waiting to get KO'd. This needs to be mentioned. Perry landed shots on Jake Paul in that fight, which are anti-rigging activities. Perry legitimately cracked Jake Paul with shots that if Jake Paul didn't have a chin, would have KO'd him. You can't deny that. So that's where I'm like, okay, now people saying rigged. I already thought it about the Woodley fight because Woodley nearly put him through the ropes. You don't do that in a rigged fight because that shot could have KO'd Jake Paul. I don't think people understand how KOs are so random. You can eat the biggest shots in the world, and in a small shot that you don't see coming, or a small shot that even you do see coming, could just hit you the right way, and all of a sudden it's wraps. You know? So I don't think people know how rigging works. I don't think any of Jake Paul's fights have been rigged. And I think this one definitely wasn't, because Perry was landing good shots. At the end of round 2, Perry was doing really good, and I thought, oh my God, Jake is not looking as good as he was early here. He's about to get smoked. Round 3, I believe, was very competitive of a round. Jake Paul won it because he landed more. Of course, people were making more noise for Perry because he was unexpected to do well. But I still think Jake Paul won every round of this fight. Round 4, I'll give Jake Paul this. Probably the best he's ever looked in a boxing ring. I said that, and a lot of people be like, what are you talking about? He's not progressing in terms of his skill level. His opponents are, though. Mike Perry is better suited for a boxing ring than Tyron Woodley. He's better suited for boxing right now than Anderson Silva, I would say. Just because Jake Paul's performance doesn't look good, don't use that to say he's not improving, because he clearly is. A lot of people are saying, dude, he's not looked good since he fought a Nissan Gib. That's a Nissan fucking Gib. Stop acting like these fucking influencers. I know Jake Paul's one of them. Do not act like these guys are legitimate opponents. They're less legitimate of opponents. KSI is fighting Anthony, whatever his fucking name is, that annoying cunt that they're probably sick the fact that he's managed to make a name for himself. I bet you they wished Anthony Taylor just lost. That's his name, Anthony Taylor, because I've roasted him before on this. I bet you they wish he just lost so they could get rid of him, but they're kind of stuck with him like a plague now. But Slim as well, they're not legitimate opponents. Like, Mike Perry's a legit tough guy, legit badass, legit fighter. He's not a boxer. Boxers are not fighters. Fighters are not boxers. We need to just get that over and done with and move on. In terms of what's next for Jake Paul and what's next for Mike Perry, apparently McGregor's fired Mike Perry from BKFC, so that's tough. What's next for Jake Paul? Mike Tyson. I still think he beats Mike Tyson. I think it's an easier fight than Mike Perry. He's not going to take shots. He's a fucking 60-year-old man. Sorry. That's just how it is. First shot he gets hit with by Jake Paul, he's going to fucking straighten up, shot right down the spine, right down the legs, and go immediately jelly-legged. Old people do not take hits the same way as young people. Fact. That's just how it is. Especially when you're an old person who's been through boxing your whole life, where your chin is going to get spent as time goes on. So yeah, he is going to beat Mike Tyson. And I think next for Mike Perry would probably be Darren Till. I want that matchup in boxing. Maybe on an undercard of something else, on a Misfits thing, on this promotion thing, or on that promotion thing. Let's do Mike Perry versus Darren Till. Just make it happen. Come on. And let's do some sort of gauntlet matchups between Diaz, Masvidal, Perry, and Till. It would make some level of sense. But, yeah. That's what I thought about it. I thought Jake looked pretty good. I think he'll beat Mike Tyson. I still don't think he's a great boxer. I'm not saying anything like that. But he was getting clipped a couple of times by Mike. That was pretty impressive. But I just think his double jab was looking better than it normally looks tonight. He was doing all right work to the body. He recomposed himself after things got a little bit tricky for him at the end of round 2. Round 3, things got a bit tricky. Kind of recomposed himself a little bit there. But yeah, it is what it is. I just thought I'd give a reaction to it. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. Boxers have developed a sport where they do not have to worry about reality of fighting. They don't have to worry about it. So they're in this echo chamber where they can get away with bullshit that would get you killed in the street. Bullshit that would get you killed in any other martial art. But they're in boxing. So they've got their little window of make-believe tough guyness. And that is boxing. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. If Mike Perry stood in the stance that Jake Paul did, or any elite level boxer did, he'd be quitting MMA within a day because he'd get absolutely destroyed in the gym in MMA. They'd be hitting him. Stop! Stop doing that. You're going to get your leg chewed off. Don't do that. You'll get taken down. Don't do that. You'll get head kicked. You know, there's a lot. Boxing's not that. Boxing's a little make-believe. Let's just make-believe we're tough and like make these little gay little rules where we can do our gay little sport and then act like we're tough. Even though I'd ragdoll Devin Haney in a fight. I swear to God I would. Rugby tackle straight to the ground. He's useless. Oh, world champion. Rugby tackle. Oh, random guy that's 140 pounds. That's crazy. Sorry. See you later, guys. Toodle Pip. Goodbye.